Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to KGX to the Z TV. Appreciate everybody checking in with me. Chelsea won, Manchester United won. Once again, we shit the bed when we go to Old Trafford. Haven't won there since 2013. I think a 1-0 win. Mata, way back in the day. I think it was the year after we won the Champions League. Maybe 2 years before we ended up selling Mata to United. But going into this one, I don't think we've, as a club, have ever been more confident of taking all 3 points, even with some of our best teams. But, you think back to some of our best teams back in the mid-2000s, late 2000s, early 2010s. Even those best teams would have faced really strong opposition from United. So, very, very good Fergie teams. So the chances of getting 3 points, in my opinion, this year, even last year, but I would probably say this year even more so than last year, where we lost 2-1 and were just utterly outplayed. This year, going into it, should have, we really should have been leaving there with all 3 points. People obviously know the circumstances surrounding it. Erik ten Hag sacked. Ruud comes in, and I knew once Ruud got the interim caretaker job, even though they've signed Amarin, but he's not coming until after the next international break. So maybe a week, 2 weeks for them. I knew that Old Trafford was going to be energized. I knew that the players, for United players, were going to step it up another level in terms of effort, right? You're playing for a club legend. You're playing basically with the eyes of your new manager, wherever he may be back in Portugal, looking at them. And they came off a good result. Granted, it was a little bit of a rotated Leicester side in the Carabao Cup, but their confidence was pretty high. And to be honest, before that, even versus West Ham, I thought United were the better team. They were unlucky to win or unlucky to lose, but that's a bad West Ham team, right? We went there and 3-0, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But going into this one, coming off of the loss at St. James's with a heavily rotated side, you'd have to really fancy our chances getting all 3 points and coming away with what could have been a great opportunity to snag the third spot, right? We on the weekend, just so many results just fell our way. Aston Villa lost to the Spurs and killed their goal difference by 3. Arsenal lost. Who else? Forest did win, but we had a great opportunity to make a statement, to kick United while they're down, to take that third spot into what is going to be a very difficult fixture at home versus a wounded Arsenal side. And we shit the bed. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. We looked a step slow. We didn't look up to the pace of the game. We allowed United to sort of set the tempo, right? And the tempo was they're going to sit back a little bit deeper. They're going to counter us, right? We knew that their lineup, their front three, Højlund, Rashford, and Garnacho, very, very good on the counter with Bruno sort of playing those long balls behind. We knew that it was going to be very difficult. And you could see that with Maresca and the way we approached it, right? He was a little bit more cautious and pessimistic about having a high line, especially a high line of Colwell and Fofana, who've been, a little susceptible at times. And especially with Reece James back, not back 100% fit, but fit enough to play 90 minutes. And you could tell because we weren't pressing very high, and I was kind of surprised because I wish we would have went for it a little bit more in that regard, because I think United, just like us, they are often architects of their own downfall when it comes to playing themselves into dangerous positions. And we saw that happen a couple times when they did, right? With Onana had one long kick that was deflected off. I think it was Jackson who closed them down, and the ball could have went anywhere, but it went out for a goal kick. And then a few other times where they played right into our hands. or we were able to sort of turn them over, or even sometimes win the second ball off of a long kick when United and Onana did actually try to kick it long and relieve some of the pressure. But just super tame efforts. And one of the few matches this year where I walk away with it thinking that Maresca got his lineup a little bit wrong and got his tactics a little bit wrong. Not to say that he was outcoached, because I don't think Ruud coached a very good game. And to be honest with you, the game overall was terrible. For a neutral tuning in to see what used to be the biggest rivalry in the Prem, like I said, going back mid to late 2000s, early 2010s, it was a dead game from the beginning, right? It just, first 10 minutes were slow. The next 35 were played at a pace that just wasn't conducive to seeing a lot of quality. And to be honest with you, it was just boring. And not that I care about being excited and things like that, and especially this year, right? I'd be a hypocrite if I said that this current crop hasn't provided a lot of excitement, because we've seen some very, very scintillating games, sometimes too much excitement, right? Sometimes I'd rather just kind of chill, calm it down, and you kind of seen the blueprint with Arne Slot over there at Liverpool, where he sacrificed a lot of Klopp's helter-skelter tactics, gegenpress, for a more controlled, a more slower pace, and kind of seeing games out as opposed to sort of going for the kill. But yeah, I thought we got the lineup wrong, and really only in one kind of key position, right? And that was just the left back. I thought, if you're going to play a left back and you're afraid of defending on the counter, you've got to play Cucurella there, right? Cucurella can also come into midfield. And we've seen Cucurella do jobs on guys like Salah. And I'm not saying he's, locked Salah down. Nobody's going to really lock Salah down, so to speak. But we saw with James on that left-hand side, and then Gusto on that right-hand side originally, before James sort of switched up in the second half. We saw Gusto just defensively wasn't terrible. He got skinned a couple times by Rashford and I think one other player, but wasn't terrible. I didn't really feel like he was a big sticking out like a sore thumb defensively, but just in going forward, he was just awful. He killed so many attacks, and with Nani sort of pushing up high and wide on that right hand side, the opportunity for Gusto to underlap and sort of find himself in those half spaces, it was frequent, and he was terrible. Final ball, when he decided to shoot, trying to dribble and go forward. I mean, he won a couple of crosses, but ultimately, or a couple of corners. Ultimately, you'd like some of those corners to be chances right there from open play inside the box. There's a couple opportunities where he had the chance to get the ball in space, where we switched it from the left side to the right side very quickly, and Nani is pushed up high and wide right. And if you get it to him quick, you can kind of get that 1v1, maybe go on the overlap, even go on the underlap. And he just was getting basic passes wrong. He was just, it was the worst Gusto performance that I've seen, and rightly so. He was hooked at halftime, which everybody was thinking. So credit to Maresca for seeing that issue and making that sub. But we just, like I said, we just looked completely off the pace, and some of the issues that we've had in the past with shooting ourselves in the foot, with not concentrating defensively, right? The goal that we give up, which came off of a foul and then a quick restart. I think it was Bruno or maybe even Rashford who played the ball in over the top. Fofana gets it wrong. You cannot, if you're going up for a header in that position, you cannot get it wrong. If you don't think you can get to it, just track the runner. Just track the man. Close down on him. We knew that Højlund doesn't have the best touch, and he still gets it wrong. There's no pressure on the ball on the pass, so that's the first issue, right? You cut out the threat, the immediate threat. Second issue, your positioning is wrong. You don't let the ball bounce. You get your header right. You judge the distance correctly. And then the third thing is, obviously, Højlund takes a touch, and it's a heavy touch. And Sanchez, like he's done ever since he's put on a Chelsea shirt. He's just capable of bonehead moments, comes out and gets it all wrong, right? The ball is going away from the goal. It's going away from Haaland. Like I said, his touch is poor, and the contact is minimal, but it's a penalty, right? He makes contact on his standing foot. Højlund goes down like every striker is taught to these days, and Bruno steps up to the spot, and it's 1-0. And on the balance of play right then, you say it's not deserved. I mean, at that point, 0-0 is probably the deserved scoreline, and at the end of the day, a draw is definitely the fair result, if there is such a thing as fair in sports. But just terrible performances. Nani was kind of rendered ineffective. Jackson was sort of marshaled out of the game. Didn't have much service, didn't have much opportunity because they were sitting a little bit deep. I thought Ruud did a pretty decent job of minimizing the distances that they have between their attack, their midfield, and their defense. So closing those spaces, right? Because if you give Jackson that sort of space in between the midfield and their defenders, he's going to come short, and he's going to pull center backs into positions that they don't want to be. And we saw that with Newcastle. We've seen that time and time again over the last 18 months with him, where he can get the ball, control it, turn, lay it off quick enough to catch up to the pace of the attack, and then we can cause danger. And he really wasn't up to it. Neto wasn't too bad. I thought out of our three starting attackers, starting more advanced forwards, Neto was probably the best one. Palmer didn't have a great game. I thought he had some decent moments of quality where he picked the ball up deep and then started attacks. But he had that 4-on-2 where he just held the ball and held the ball and held the ball, and then finally gets a shot off and then it's blocked. And it was really just a symptom of what's happened or what our attack looked like all match, right? If your best player is just off it, which Cole was, it's hard for the rest of the folks. Somewhat, actually, to be honest, one of the supporting cast needs to step up, and we just didn't do that. And you look at the midfield. Caicedo I thought was excellent. Was closing it down. Was tackling folks. Was beating folks. Had a couple good switches and things like that. And then obviously he gets the goal to level things in. It was just a fantastic goal off the volley, which is really encouraging, because if there's one thing that we need from a midfield of Caicedo and Lavia, if those two play, they're going to give you more control. They're going to give you more defensive stability and solidity, which we had this game. But they're not the most creative. So it's almost an imbalance, right? You've got the two different partnerships, because Caicedo is going to play regardless, right? So you got Caicedo and Lavia, which, like I said, solid defensively, solid in transition, solid at progressing the ball through carries, but not the best when it comes to passing and creating chances from deep. And then you've got the flip side of Enzo, who came on and should have had a goal, wide open net that fell right to him, and then he puts it right to Onana. But if you play those two, then Enzo's lack of mobility always shines and always gets called out. And hindsight is always 50-50, but you're looking at this game and you're looking at the starting lineup. They went with a midfield of Casemiro, Bruno, and Ugarte. Both Ugarte and Casemiro sitting, and you're thinking, all right, like you could have probably afforded to play Enzo in this particular game and kind of sit Lavia. But, he might have been thinking that, the lineup doesn't come out till an hour before the kickoff, making those last minute changes. And he might have been thinking of just control it, see how the game goes. We need Enzo to generate some offense and attack, bring him on, and then, kind of judge the game, which he did. Maybe a little bit too late, but overall, Enzo had enough time to make an impact. Like I said, Madueke was kind of marshaled out of it. He made way for Mudryk. Mudryk didn't have too many opportunities to get some crosses in and things like that, but just super disappointing. It was a great opportunity to kick United while they're down. Great opportunity to take hold of that third spot, and then with Arsenal coming up on the weekend and Noah midweek, a win versus Arsenal, considering their form, which is pretty bad, and even how we played last year, right? Sanchez gives the ball away. Declan Rice scores, and then they get a late goal from Gabriel. And even the year before that, I think they beat us 1-0 on a Gabriel corner. they, it would have been a great opportunity to put the Panic over there in North London, and for us to kind of create that a little bit of breathing space in between them, and really send them into the international window, the November window, with their tails between their legs, and just their fan base going crazy, and just a real sour mood. But instead, like I said, we put together a terrible performance, and you just have to look at it and just spread the blame around from everybody, from the manager to the players. But the good thing is, we're still on track, still tracking top four. We still have an opportunity. It's still early in the season. Maresca's still learning on the job, right? Even though this is his second, I think, full year, or maybe third full year of managing. He's still learning his team, right? We're still in November. We're fully fit. He looks like he has a system. He looks like he has his preferred rotation set and things like that. But like I said, he's still figuring his players out. Players are still getting up to speed with their expectations of what he wants in their system. So there's still a lot of learning and still a lot of positivity to be had. But just I was looking forward to that one. But I was also very, very nervous, to be honest with you. And I've seen a lot of content creators out there saying we're going to smoke them 3-0, 3-1, 4-1, all these crazy stat lines. And I'm like, that shit don't happen when we go to OT, man. Like, I know Tottenham went there and battered them. Liverpool went there and basically had a kickabout. But for some reason, when we rock up to Old Trafford, shit's different. And they solidify. They had their structure. Like I said, they were playing basically for their jobs and playing for a new manager. And shit didn't go the way we wanted. But ultimately, we move. And like I said, we've got a big week coming up. Important to obviously get all 3 points in the Conference League versus FC Noah's Ark. And then on the weekend, get it as healthy as possible into the Arsenal match and see what we can do from there. So, really not too much more to be said from this. Appreciate everybody for checking in with me. I will probably be back later on this weekend. I don't know if we'll do a match review. I don't think we'll do a preview of Noah, but we'll do a match review, and then we will go about the Arsenal preview and then Arsenal match review, and maybe start bringing a few more videos into this series about what did we learn this weekend from around the league and things like that. But appreciate everybody for locking in. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, trying to grow the channel. Let me know your thoughts and comments. If you agree, if you disagree, put them down there in the comment section, and peace.